AI in education offers a big chance to improve learning as well as teaching at schools. But without the right guidelines and without choosing the right tools, there's a real chance that learning will get much worse. And that's why I put together and organized my thoughts on this topic in this FigJam here. I'm also going to link it so that you can click on all of the links. And I just want to share my thoughts on the topic and how I think schools and education can really benefit on AI if it's done right. I want to start with this quote here from Po-Shen Low. He's a math professor at Carnegie Mellon University. And in a recent video, he said, using AI to do your homework in school is like saying, I'm going to drive my car 1 mile for exercise. This connects super well also to a recent MIT study that showed that ChatGPT users have much lower brain activity when writing SAT-style essays. And the point here I want to make is really that heavily using something like ChatGPT to solve a task at school, to do homework, means that you're outsourcing the main thinking here. You're not actually running into those challenges. You're not solving the actual problems, and you're not getting this deep understanding of a topic. You're not getting to the point where you struggle and then you overcome this and you learn something along the way. And yeah, of course, you might be saying now, how does this matter? We can just create the best prompt engineers ever at school, and then they will do great at their jobs because, of course, all the AI tools are available when you're working a job. But the thing is, this might work at school for school tasks, but as soon as we come to a more complex and a more unique problem, this is not going to work anymore. I was just interviewing a few computer science majors this summer, and all of their CVs were super impressive. They listed all kinds of Python machine learning libraries, had a huge portfolio of projects, and I thought, wow, these guys must be so good. But when I talked to them and I challenged them a little bit and I checked their understanding, gave them a hard problem, most of them actually failed. And I don't think they cheated on their CVs and put some wrong stuff on there. That's not the case. What happened is they heavily relied on AI coding tools for this project work to get into these libraries, and they didn't actually make the learnings there for themselves. They didn't really deeply understand the topics. And so facing a more novel problem, they couldn't solve it. So what do I want to say here? Is the solution to just ban AI at schools? No, I don't think so. So what's the point, first of all, at schools? I think the main point is to teach foundational skills. So basic skills like problem solving, logic, critical thinking, languages, communication, more specific skills like maybe coding or math. All of these is what I would consider foundational skills. And what AI can do to help students learn and master these topics is it can work as a tutor. For this point here, I'm using a very old study from 1984 that showed how effective one-on-one tutoring is for learning. And this is exactly the chance we have when it comes to AI. Right now, if you're an educator in a classroom with 15 to 30 students, you don't have the chance for much one-on-one time. And you cannot help every student that gets stuck on something, especially not if they're more the quiet type and you don't even know that they're stuck on a problem. But with AI, if we use and give students the right tools, they have a tutor on hand that can help them when they get stuck and help them in a way that they still struggle and that they still have to make those learnings. But before they give up and they cannot proceed on their own anymore, it can actually help them and give them the right hints and tips to get it. So how can this be done right? I think it needs really good guidelines and good tools Those are just a few ideas here that I have on how guidelines like this could look like. So it definitely has to start with some clear rules on how AI should be used, and that it should be used as a tutor and not as the problem solver that just gives you the answers. This is what I mean with the rules part here. And then because, of course, everybody has access to ChatGPT and whatever AI tool you want, we need to use classroom time and assessments effectively to check if students are actually learning. And the focus really has to be in classroom to see how they're working on problems, how they're solving them, and then check if they build this understanding and make progress. So this is why we need classroom time, because just giving them homework and grading this is not that helpful if we don't know how they got those results. The whole point of the rules and classroom time is then to also teach them how to responsibly use AI so that they can use it to help their learning and not to skip their learning. And one way this is much easier for students, I think especially for younger students, is by giving them access to educational platforms with AI. So platforms that have guardrails, making sure they don't use it the wrong way. I want to give a couple of examples. So one very universal tool for this would be ChatGPT in study mode. So in a mode that makes sure it doesn't just give you the answers. This is one way that should work for almost any class. But then there's also more specific tools. Like Brisk, for example, I've heard really good things from language teachers. It integrates with Google Docs, for example, so you can write an essay there, and then the tool can give students feedback and assist educators in writing feedback, so feedback can be given more frequently and faster. Another example here that takes this to another level would be CanMigo. There's also a really cool TED Talk that I recommend to watch about this. And what CanMigo is this AI tutor integrated into Khan Academy. So if you know Khan Academy, it has a bunch of courses already for IB and for AP and other courses. And CanMigo now just integrates this chatbot in here that has all the context and is prompted to give students good hints without telling them the solutions. So just like you would do as an educator, trying to help out your students. You wouldn't give them the answer, you would try to get them on the right path to understand what is going on. So this is exactly what this is. And then of course, it's possible to just build more custom tools. That's one thing I did here for computer science principles, where I noticed my students struggled a lot practicing for their FAQ questions, and I just created this tool where they could submit their code and then try those questions, and I could really make sure to fine-tune the prompts that go to the language models here to make sure they get feedback on the scoring criteria, on the way on the right language they have to use. So all these things they wouldn't probably know how to put them into ChatGPT so it can give them good feedback. I took care for them here. So that's one way you can really give them an amazing experience if you have the right tools, no matter if this is something very custom made or you're using a platform with a pre-made course for the subject. So this is how I see the foundational skills and how AI should be used as a tutor rather than the problem solver, so that students make the learnings and the tutor can just help them when they're getting stuck. This is the main part of learning at schools, so it should take, in my opinion, the biggest chunk of time. But then, of course, in this new age, we also want students to learn the AI skills. And the way to do this is, I think, or at least one really good way to do this is with more complex projects. So projects that are so complex that they're still solvable for students with access to all of the tools, but they're not so easy that they can just put in a single prompt and get all the answers and they're done with the project. So by choosing the right complexity, students will still have to do all the orchestrating. They still will have to do the planning and thinking and managing of everything, but they can use AI to solve some subtasks. So they can use general purpose tools like ChatGPT. They can use more specific tools for research, for example. Notebook LM here is also a really good tool for educators who want to create new tasks, curriculum, anything like this. Is really cool because you can upload your own sources and then let it do some work with your sources. So I highly recommend it to check that out. Of course, anything you can think about with media generation or also with app creation. This is actually something that's really possible now, at least for simple apps, that if you have an idea about some little interactive app you want to create for students as an educator, you can do this now using prompts. So here's 2 examples of apps I created with tools like this. One here, because I didn't find something good, for binary numbers, just to give you an example, where the overflow would be visualized, and it's visualized here what happens when you count up and down. And another one I created to visualize and like learn about binary search in a playful way. And this works for a lot of simple apps, and I think it's a great way, first of all, for educators to make class more interactive with these little apps that you can create. And it's amazing for students, of course, if you let them work on a project and they can actually create their own little app in the end to show their ideas and all combine it at the end. So those are just a couple of tools that are cool if we're talking about more complex projects where we give them access to all the tools so that they actually learn AI skills themselves and learn how to apply their foundational skills using AI on complex projects. And then the last category that I just wanted to bring up here that is related to schools in general and not specifically for educators or students. And this is one category here, for example, automation. So if you think of all of the spreadsheets at schools and all of the forms that have to constantly be filled out, using some workflow automation, these processes could actually be made much more automated. And you could, for example, connect to Google Doc with a visual workflow and let AI get some insights out of this, or automatically trigger an email that's sent. So something like this can be a great chance to automate workflows at schools. Then, of course, email for those people like counselors who constantly have to answer questions via email and they're getting the same questions over and over again. By using some AI email tool, you could have those questions you already answered be automatically written by the AI and then focus on the actual new questions that you haven't answered before. Or meetings, we definitely have plenty of at school, so why not use something like an AI note taker during those meetings to document what is going on? Again, those are just a few examples. So to sum this all up, there's a lot of potential to improve the workflows at schools, to improve the learning with AI as a tutor, and also to improve the experience for educators with the right tools to save them time and let them focus on the things that actually really matter in the classroom working with the students. And as to end this, I just wanted to show one example. It's called, this is like a school chain in the US, Alpha School, and they focus on using this 2-hour learning platform, that's what they call it, and it's a AI-powered platform with an AI tutor that students use for 2 hours each day to do like their deep focused learning of the main curriculum, and then the rest of the day students can actually focus on project work and things they're intrinsically motivated to do and they're really interested in. I think this is a really cool concept worth checking out. There's also a cool podcast of the founder of Alpha Schools, and in terms of standardized tests, these schools tend to do super well, always, while students spend actually less time in the classroom learning and more time on projects and skills they really want to learn. That's it. I hope you find this insightful.